in the crowd tonight, right? We're going to talk about them a little bit tonight, in a good way. So that's a good starting list on how to tell what's right or wrong. Are all those people going to be there right there when you need to make that decision all the time? Maybe not. So I want to share an idea that I've been working on for a lot of years to help you figure out what's right and wrong, what you should do or not do. And my intent tonight is not to tell anybody what to do or how to think, or not to tell anybody what to think. What I want to do tonight is help you to think these things through. So, the gate man, from now on, anybody that comes in is going to be on the last row. Okay. So, how are we going to do that? Let's go to PowerPoint. How about this to be able to tell if something's right or wrong? I call it the line in the sand questions. It goes like this. There's 6 questions I want you to think about for a second. Does whatever you're thinking about doing or your neighbor's thinking about doing at the stock show, does that action violate FDA law? Will that action harm the animal? Think about some things that could be done at a stock show that might harm the animal. Is it fraud? You can tell your parents you've learned a new F word tonight. It's called fraud, and it's bad. Is it a fraudulent misrepresentation of the animal? Is it a fraudulent misrepresentation of the 4-H member or FFA member? Does it have, let's go this way, does the practice run opposite of real-world agriculture? And you'll see in a video tonight, there's no doubt that livestock shows and commercial agriculture are different. I'll grant you that. But they need to be running parallel to each other instead of opposite direction from each other. Does that make sense? So, is it run opposite of real-world agriculture? Will that action have a detrimental effect on the future of livestock shows with bad PR or whatever? And the last one, do you have to lie about it to cover it up? That's a pretty big catch-all one right there. So, ask yourself those 6 questions, and I'm going to need some help handing this out right now. You know what? Did I forget to collect the first round of data? I did, didn't I? Why didn't you holler at me? We're going to have to do it. Before I get any further,
ready to go?
Do you think we need to go ahead and collect that data? Yeah. Okay. Before we go any further, I need to have everybody whose day of the month they were born is an odd number. If you were born on an odd day of the month, like 1, 3, 5, I need you guys to stand up, everybody, who have odd numbers, day of the month that you were born. Okay? And I need you to gather your stuff. Gather your stuff and follow J.B. Demick out the door. Okay, here's what we're going to do as soon as that last person gets out the door. Okay, I've got a little short instrument for you to fill out. I only want kids that are 12 and above to fill this out. If you're under 12, you do not have to do this. Does that make sense?
You want adults to do it?
I want adults to do it, and any 4-H and FFA members. And Todd, I'm going to need PowerPoint. So you need to be over 12. Take this. Adults and kids alike.
What do you need?
PowerPoint.
Okay. This is the PowerPoint.
No. Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Well, never mind. So I'm going to read these questions real quick. We're going to try to get through this in 10 minutes. First question. After you do the demographic questions, so I need to know... never mind. That's at the end. Here we go. First question. I'm going to read it twice, then we're going to the next question. And you're going to answer this whether you strongly agree to this action or you strongly disagree to this is a good thing. Junior exhibitor uses black shoe polish to cover up a snip of white on the forehead of an Angus steer. The steer is exhibited in a class of Angus steers. Do you agree to disagree on that scale? If you don't know, put the middle question on the question mark. Junior exhibitor uses black shoe polish to cover up a snip of white on the forehead of an Angus steer. The steer is shown in a class of Angus steers. Here's the second one. The father of a junior exhibitor has recently learned about Lasix from a local vet. Lasix is a strong diuretic prescribed by veterinarians. A diuretic is a drug which causes frequent urination. This father knows that 2 of his daughter's pigs are overweight. A week before the show, he purchased a bottle of Lasix from the local vet. Give several doses to the 2 overweight pigs. Next one. A professional fitter, that's a person who's paid to clip and prepare animals for show, is at the livestock barn at your local county fair. You ask this person for some advice on how to best fit and groom your animal for show. Professional fitters at your local show, you ask that person for advice on how to best fit your animal for that show. Number 4, there's a saying, if it's good for human use, it'd surely be good for animal use also. So there should be no problem using sunblock on your market hog to keep it from getting sunburned. If it's good for humans, it's good for animals, some people think, so there should be no problem using sunblock on your market hog to keep it from getting sunburned. Number 5, your county fair has a no drenching rule while the animals are on the grounds. Your lamb will not drink the whole time it's been at the show. You talk to the show vet. The vet, with their guidance, allows you to use a drench gun to rehydrate your dehydrated lamb. So there's a no drenching rule. Your lamb won't drink. You ask the show vet. Vet gives you the okay to drench that lamb to rehydrate it. Number 6, you purchase a lamb for your county fair from another state. The lamb was shown in another county fair. The lamb is trained and nearly automatically shows himself. You've owned the lamb for the required minimum feeding period for your fair. In the 3 months you've owned the lamb, you've held its weight constant, 0 average daily gain in 3 months. Read that again. You purchase a lamb for your county fair from another state. The lamb was shown at another county fair. The lamb is trained and nearly automatically shows himself. You have owned the lamb for the required minimum feeding period for your fair. In the last 3 months you've owned the lamb. The last 3 months that you've owned the lamb, you've held his weight constant at 0 average daily gain. Number 7, a drug labeled for horses, for use on horses only, is used to help reduce swelling in legs. This drug has occasionally been used to reduce lameness in show sheep and show hogs. Your hog starts limping at the county fair, you give him a shot of this drug and he walks great for the show. One more time, a drug label for use on horses only is used to reduce swelling in legs. This drug has occasionally been used to reduce lameness in show sheep and show hogs. Your hog starts limping at the county fair, you give him a shot of this drug and he walks great for the show. Number 8, you've been busy and it's a week away from the county fair. You've not taught your steer to lead yet. You use a John Deere tractor to halter brake your steer and take him to the fair. One more time, you've been busy. It's a week away from the county fair. You have not taught your steer to lead yet. You use a John Deere tractor to halter brake your steer and take him to the fair. Number 9, swine producer from a nearby county makes a proposition with a junior livestock exhibitor. The producer will partner with the exhibitor, be co-owners of the hog. The producer will be the silent partner. Any show winnings and auction money will be split 50-50 between the producer and the exhibitor. One more time, a swine producer from a nearby county makes a proposition with a junior livestock exhibitor. The producer will partner with the exhibitor to be co-owners of the hog. Producers will be the silent partner, and any show winnings or auction money be split 50-50 between the producer and the exhibitor. Number 10, it's December 27th, and your best purebred ewe is giving birth to twin female lambs. The only drawback is the birth date. You figure January 1st is only 4 days away, so what difference will it make? Will 4 days make? You put January 1 as the birth date on the registration papers. One more time, it's December 27th, and your best purebred ewe is giving birth to twin female lambs. The only drawback is the birth date. You figure January 1st is only 4 days away, so what difference will it make? You put January 1 as the birth date on the registration. There should be a couple of other questions about if you're a 4-H member, parent, or all of that. And then 3 other kind of general opinion questions, if you could answer those on the last page.
And the 2 on the last that we got.
Yeah, there's 2 on the very end of that last page that have a line through them. Don't answer those. And we'll start picking those up and get compass rose. If you don't know what a compass rose is, it's a little 4-pointed deal. Has north, east, south, and west. Now I need to explain the terminology of a compass to some of our younger audience members, since they might be really hooked into GPS, right? I might need to update this to the Livestock Show Ethics GPS instrument or something. But what does compass or what does a GPS do for you? How does it help you? Huh?
It leads you in the right direction.
It leads you in the right direction. What else does it do? Keeps you from getting lost. It helps show you the way. That's why I named this, the ethical compass, or ethical GPS, if you wish. And how this works, I developed this when I was in Idaho. I was leading a sport fishing project of about 25 kids. And for about a year, I led that group, and we would go on fishing trips all the time. And I had a card just like this, but for sport fishing related ethics questions, okay? Every time we went out on a fishing trip, there would be some ethical dilemma pop up. And those kids would say, Jeff, what do we need to do? I said, well, take out that card. And they all carried it in their billfold or in their tackle box or somewhere where they could access it. They'd all take that card out, and they'd, as a group, go through those questions on that card. And every single time they could figure out themselves what the right thing to do is. So that's how this works. So I would encourage you, we're going to have some extras of these, and John or the Fair Board will probably have some in the future that's going to be available. And I would encourage you to take this home, put a copy on your tack box, put a copy on your refrigerator, put a copy in your barn at home so that you're reminded of this. Put one in your billfold so that you see it and can use it. And it'll help you find the way. It really works well. So that's the Livestock Show Ethical Compass and how it works. Now to show you how it works, I need 13 kids to come up here and help me real quick. Like right now, 13 4-H or FFA members, come here. First 13 up here. Make me a line behind me. Single file line. Somebody count if I got 13 or not. How many we got?
11, 12.
Need una más. One more.
13.
There we go. So I've got some livestock show stuff here, actions. And I'm going to have the crowd sort these for me. We're going to say this is the unethical side of the room where it's going to go if it's bad. This is where y'all go, yeah, bad. This is going to be the ethical side. Okay. So I want y'all to tell me which way it goes and why. There you go. Stand right there and they're going to tell you which way to go. False ownership, which way does it go? And by your ethical compass, why? Which of those 6 questions sends it that way? Fraud. And you have to lie to cover it. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 or 4 things that send it over there, but fraud's the big one. You fraudulently misrepresented the animal. How about this one? Give a tranquilizer. Wait a minute. Before we go there, it says give a tranquilizer before the show. I mean to the 4-H animal, not talking about the 4-H mama here. So you say it goes that way, right? So go that way. And why does it go that way? It's a fraudulent misrepresentation of the animal. How about, hold it up high, give it an antibiotic. Which way does it go? We had an unethical, somebody else said something else.
Is it show day or is it before?
So it depends is what you're saying. Stand up here. That's why I got 2 of those signs. If you violate the label, if you disregard withdrawal dates, all that stuff, it goes over there, correct? So you go over there. And if you follow label directions, use something that's labeled for that animal, and you adhere to the label, it goes over there, correct? How about this one? Hold it up high for me. Falsified birth date. Well, before you go, again, I'm talking about the 4-H animal, not the 4-H mama. I'm just kidding. Goes over there. And why does it go over there? And it could be 4-H member. Yeah. So why does it go over there? The fraud again. You have to lie about it to cover it up. There's two of those two kind of hit it good. How about this one? Drenching. Huh? Somebody said it depends. Why does it depend? Depends on the rules of the show. That's the first place you go.
And then if the veterinary prescribed it, they would have to go with what the show.
Correct. That's why I got two of them. If your lamb is dehydrated and you need to rehydrate that lamb, he won't drink, you go to the show vet. The show vet will either supervise or okay you to drench that animal, even if you have a no drenching rule. Most shows have gone that way. They want you to consult the show vet when you got an issue that you need help with instead of trying to take care of it privately. So you go over there when you do it right. What would send it over this way? There's a couple of things this is talking about. One is disregarding that show rule, not talking to the vet. And another thought about this is when people might have a lamb and that lamb hasn't seen a bit of solid food in 4 months. That's kind of getting completely away from commercial agriculture, isn't it? And some of those, I've had some ag teachers that refuse to let their FFA students water their animals, pigs or lambs or something. They took it upon themselves to administer every bit of water to that animal for so many days before the show. I think that's kind of missing the point of the project, isn't it? So for some of those reasons, it's going over there. So what else we got next? Normal exercise. Where's that go? It's going over there, right? How about this one? Excessive exercise. Where's that go? And why? You say it's mean to the animal. Explain a little.
Well, because who wants a little super monster animal that's all jacked up and been over-exercised to make it lose weight?
If you want to win that, somebody might want that. I go to this one like this. I've had 4-H kids that tie their lamb to the back of a four-wheeler and take off and forget to look back. And they have ground the hooves off of that lamb about halfway. I've seen it happen. That's probably excessive exercise, isn't it? And why would it go over there is because it would really not be good for the future of livestock shows. It would definitely harm the animal, those two. So if you're doing something that's going to harm the animal in your exercise program, you better rethink it. I guess that's my tip for the day. How about this one? Feeding Payleen to a pig. Either way. I just have one of those, but it can go either way. I think if people follow the label directions, they're careful about the kind of pig that they're giving Payleen to, you can send him over the top on a hot day at the fair, can't you, if he's a stress-prone pig? So you got to watch that one. But I think that product is probably not as popular as it was at one day. So I think the use of it's kind of fading out. So I'm going to say for the most part, if you're following the rules or the label, it'll go over there. How about this one? Feeding Payleen to a lamb. Goes over here automatically. Why? Do you know why? Why does it go over here? No, the big one is the FDA law. That product is not cleared for use in lambs. So that automatically throws it over here, no questions. How about this one? Excessive holding of an animal. And again, we all probably agree it goes over here, but the hard part is there's a lot of gray area between the excessive exercise and good exercise, holding excessively versus holding a little bit. Some of these, there's a big gray area in the middle, and it gets tough sometimes. Sometimes it's not cut and dried, yes or no, black and white. And you have to use some judgment. So, but for the most part, we would say if a lamb hadn't gained anything in 4 months, that's probably not good. It's running opposite of real-world agriculture is why I would throw it over there. Again, we've talked about this one, about beating a lamb before it goes in the show ring. Definitely harm the animal. It goes over there. definitely is not going to help the future of the livestock show program, right? So I hope that ethical compass can help you sort some of these things out when they come up. Do you think it might? I think so. I'm asking you to keep a copy of that handy where you can consult when you need to. Probably going to ask the fair board to get a big one blowed up at your show ring. Would be kind of neat to see. So let's give all these kids a hand for helping me sort those. You can put them on the table. And right now, he actually showed the video to some high school classes, 200 kids in about 6 different high schools. And he measured their ability to sort these practices as right or wrong before they saw the video and after they saw the video. So I'll show you the video that he used, and then I'm going to show you the answers from those 200 FFA students 20 years ago. 7 of those questions that he used were the same ones that are on this thing you're filling out tonight. So I think it'll make sense when you see how these FFA students answered the question. So we're still picking up, and I'm going to go ahead and jump into this part. Oh, we need to do the line in the sand video real quick, Todd. We need to get somebody to pick up papers for us. If y'all keep picking those up, and if you could plug in line in the sand for me. This video was done about 20 years ago. I get ag teachers and county agents still calling me on a regular basis. Hey, can I get a copy of that video? So 20-year-old video is still being used all over the country. So it's a really fun video. We put a lot of humor in it so that it's fun to watch. Let's go ahead and start it. I guess we checked the audio levels, didn't we? Yeah. Okay. It's a... Huh?
I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay. Previous 2 livestock show ethics videos I've made fun of preachers, teachers, doctors, and lawyers. And even ag teachers and county agents. Guess what? It's time to include used car sales. Need to give that to somebody?
Car before you sell it, in order to have it looking its best?
Should be a box. Give it to them.
No problem. Is it acceptable to wash and groom your animal before you show it at a livestock show? Certainly it's acceptable.
It's fraud, and you can go to prison for doing it.
Lie about the birth date of an animal on registration papers in order to make it appear younger than it really is? Or is it ethical to fix the teeth on a steer or lamb in order to make that animal appear younger than it really is? Problem here. That's unethical, it's illegal, it's fraud. Is it ethical to put cornmeal or sawdust in the transmission of a car in order to make it run? Whoa! Problem here. That's unethical, that's deceptive, that's fraud. Ethical to give a shot of Banamine to a pig to enable it to walk for a livestock show when it's really crippled? Whoa! Problem here. That's not only a violation of FDA law, it's a fraudulent misrepresentation of the animal. It's wrong. There's much confusion across the country. Confusion about which livestock showing practice and which are unethical. Let us now define the blurred ethical line. Let us draw the line in the sand. First, we must clear the fog. The reason for making the video that help you sort out these and other practices. Sort them out right from wrong. Are they ethical or unethical? Guess what? Most of the things that we do to a show animal are either right or wrong. Most of the practices side of this line are the wrong side of this line. So let's take a look at a few livestock showing practices and let you decide just what side of the ethical line you are on. Before we get started, let me share 3 line in the sand for you to ask yourself about these practices. First, does the practice violate laws established by the Food and Drug Administration?
Second, does the practice fraudulently misrepresent the animal? And third, does the practice compromise the welfare? If any of these three line in the sand questions are answered yes, the practice is unacceptable. It's unethical. Should you decide to engage in such unethical activity, you have just crossed to the unethical side of this picture. Now, before we get started on this exercise, you need to realize that the starting place for answering your questions about practices that are right or wrong start with the rules of the livestock show that you're going to exhibit your. You also need to remember that stock show rules, just like the laws that our society lives by, are minimum accepted standards of conduct. Minimum standards. The challenge is to live our lives above those standards. For example, is it against the law to lie? Unless you are on the witness stand in a courtroom, or unless you engage in slander, it is not illegal. However, or appropriate behavior.
Listen, I didn't steal no money. It was a herd of ticked off penguins. They stole the money, they drove off in the Batmobile. Is there a problem with that? That's the ticket, that's the whole story.
Is it unethical to tell lies? Yes, because if nobody told the truth about anything, there would be chaos. Our society would not function. Is it against the law to be mean to people? While it may not be against the law to be mean to people, you won't have many friends. So the rules of the livestock show are minimum accepted standards. Now let's look at a few livestock showing practices and let you decide if they're ethical or unethical. Is it okay to polish the hooves on a steer? Rules of the show, most people would say that it's just like shining up the tires on your car. You're really not changing anything, just dressing it up. In this case, the exhibitor comes to the ethical side of the line. How about of an animal in order to get it classified into another breed? Whoa, to the unethical side of the line you go for violation of question number 2. That's a fraudulent misrepresentation of the animal. Is it okay to severely a normal amount of feed and water for weeks before a show just to meet a maximum weight requirement? Whoa, violation of question number 3. That could compromise the welfare of the animal. And even if the welfare of the animal is not compromised, the for it. Severe restrictors of feed and water go to the unethical side of the line. Now there's a world of difference between holding a daily scheduled feeding or watering for an hour or two before weigh-in and the severe holding of an animal for days or weeks before the show's weigh-in. If someone suggested that your animal needs to be on a crash diet, ask that same person to eat only half a meal per day for 2 weeks, and we'll see what they think about the practice. Is it acceptable to take a medication from your family's medicine cabinet and administer it to, say, a sunburnt pig? If it's all right to use on humans, it should be all right to use on... Whoa, violation of question number 1. That can violate FDA laws. When it comes to anything that you give your animal, except for appropriate extra-label drug use by a veterinarian, the label of that product is authority. The label is the king. If a product is not cleared and labeled for food animal use, don't use it. If a substance such as lidocaine shows up at a drug test at a livestock show, you can disqualify, lose your money and your respect. It's as simple as that. You and your parents could be charged with a crime. Is it okay to use an antibiotic or other therapeutic substance on your animal? It depends. If you use an approved directions and adhere to withdrawal times of that drug before marketing that animal, it is acceptable and ethical. In short, appropriate use of animal health products is ethical. However, if you're using not cleared for food animal use, or if you disregard withdrawal times before slaughter of the animal, That crosses the line. This one can violate all 3 line in the sand questions. It can most definitely violate food and Some drugs can be used not as therapy for disease, but to fraudulently misrepresent the animal. And severe abuse of certain drugs, such as diuretics, can very well compromise the welfare of the animal. We have some examples on how to sort the right from the wrong. 99% of the things that we do at a livestock show will sort out just this easy with these 3 line in the sand questions.
We interrupt this program with a message from the Department of Transportation.
Dad, I want to go from be just like you.
The abuse of the handicap parking privilege is costing you. It's costing many major cities in excess of hundreds of thousands of dollars per year in lost parking fees. And when someone fraudulently uses a parking privilege, the people who depend on the space the most are taken advantage of.
What are you doing, Dad? That's grandmother's handicap parking tag.
What the It's no big deal.
Dad, you can't park here. It's a handicap parking spot.
I always said I was mentally challenged.
But Dad, it's wrong.
So what?
Sir, are you physically disabled or are you just taking advantage of someone else's parking tag?
Buzz off.
But sir, what if someone comes along who really needs the
To my face.
So, do apologize, our DVD player has a little hitch in its giddy up tonight. So I think you're getting most of it. So that commercial we put in there, why would I put a commercial like that in a video like this? I put it in there because I've seen some cases when kids want to be just like their dad until they see their dad do something less than desirable. And that's not the kind of stuff that needs to be happening at a junior livestock show. And it happens every now and then. And that's why I put that in there, because he's not so sure he wants to be like Dad anymore, is he? And I've had kids teach ethics to their parents. The first video I did was called Question of Ethics. And the 4-H club back in my hometown showed it at a club meeting. That night, 12-year-old went home, and the dad, first thing he said at supper, said, "Matt, we need to give out hog ears a shot of Lasix for the county show next week." He said, "Well, Dad, we just talked about that today at the 4-H meeting, and we're not supposed to do that." And I think they had a very animated discussion for about 2 or 3 days. Finally, 12-year-old won the discussion with help from Mama, I think. So the hog didn't get a shot of Lasix. The hog showed. The hog did really well. All went well. And that dad ended up saying to his family and a whole lot of other people in town that his son taught him some ethics that week. And I think that's a good thing when that happens. And it does happen from time to time. Sometimes your kids do remind you of what's the right thing to do. So roll it on.
We now return to our regularly scheduled program.
Now when we get to hair splitting, like is it all right to feed chocolate milk to a pig or cranberry juice to a pig, we need to go to a 4th line in the sand question. That 4th line in the sand question is, does the practice have anything to do with agriculture or standard animal husbandry practices? Feeding cranberry juice to a pig might not violate the food law, it might not misrepresent the animal, and it might not compromise the welfare of the animal. In the heck does it have to do with raising market animals in the real world? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nearly every single livestock showing practice used today can be sorted right from wrong with these 4 questions. Does it violate federal food and drug laws? Does it fraudulently misrepresent the animal? Does it compromise the welfare of the animal? And does it have anything to do with real-world commercial agriculture? For some hair splitting and nitpicking examples that aren't answered with these 4 questions, I'd say that we've made some huge progress. That means that we have identified and sorted out many of the big bad practices. Hair splitting are good problems to face, instead of things like clenbuterol use, diuretic use, and pumping oil and other substances under the hide of an animal. Some people go right off the radar screen idea of real-world agriculture being a guide for livestock shows.
Well, somebody just went off the radar screen.
I'll be the first to admit that livestock shows and commercial agriculture are different, and we need to use some common sense when talking about it. Example, does washing and grooming an animal have anything to do with real-world agriculture and market animals? No. Is it an acceptable practice? Yes. As pointed out in the introduction of this video, washing and grooming an animal in preparation for show is just like washing and waxing your car before you sell it. The purpose of both is to present the objects in their best light. That is not unethical, just good salesmanship and ownership. I would submit that livestock shows and real-world commercial agriculture are different, but they need to parallel each other instead of running in opposite directions from each other. Ways in which we operate our youth livestock show program in some states has zero to do with raising market animals in the real world. In those cases, stock shows and commercial agriculture are in that opposite relation. And when our livestock programs are centered around the severe restriction of feed from animals instead of average daily gain, something is wrong. When youth livestock projects focus on livestock feed livestock feeding, our livestock show program is running opposite of real-world agriculture. And when we disregard drug residues in our show animals, the folks in real-world agriculture will disown us. That mainstream agriculture disowns the livestock show program will be the day that the packers will no longer buy the animals from the show ring. And the day that you cannot sell your animals, that, my friends, will be the beginning of the livestock show. Oh, and before I leave you today, there's just one more item I need to bring up. This is an issue that might not be answered by the line in the sand example. Some people fly right off the radar screen.
Another one just went off the radar screen.
When the issue of excessive adult involvement in youth livestock programs is mentioned. Think of it like this. If a parent buys his young son a model car and then won't let him put it together for fear, what has the son learned? Not much. Let's not let this model car example be how we operate our youth livestock programs. What is being proposed here is for the adults involved, whether professional fisher, county agent, or parent, for the adults involved to serve in the coaching or teaching mode and not the doing mode. This brings me to the end of this third and final video on livestock show ethics. To leave you, I'd just like to challenge the 4-H and FFA members watching this video. I challenge you to make sure that everything done to, with, and for your livestock project animal is on the ethical side of this line in the sand. Do that, livestock shows will be alive and well for many years to come. And a challenge to the adults. Make sure that the things that you teach the young people in your charge, bring them to the ethical side of this. What do all of you think about that? As we close this video, remember a major point. Don't focus on the few practices shown in the video. Practices not shown in the video, such as drenching of animals. Instead, focus on the 4 line-in-the-sand questions posed in the video. Take those 4 questions, look in the mirror, and answer your own questions and concerns. Stock showing practices.
You bet. I've showed these ethics videos to my exhibitors and their families, and you know there's always a few crooks in the crowd too, and you can tell because they start to squirm and their faces turn red, and it's pretty good to watch them squirm.
I plan to show the ethics video to all of my first-year feeders and their family members each year. If I do that, in 9 years, my program will look completely different.
I hate this video.
The most powerful way to address this issue is from the kids up. If the kids in this program are spreading this message, something positive will happen.
Okay, you can pause that. The bad guy in that video, I got to tell you a story about him. His name's Pig Dog. it was about 2 or 3 weeks before we was going to shoot that video in Amarillo, Texas, and I haven't found a good bad guy for the video yet. And I was in Chicago O'Hare Airport coming from somewhere, and there Pig Dog was, dressed just like he was in that video. I thought, this guy would be a great bad guy for my video, and I was staring at him, and he caught me staring at him. About 5 or 6 times he caught me staring at him. He was getting a little upset. And I finally went over there and said, hey man, you want to be in a video? He said, do I have to keep my clothes on? I said, yes. So he was kind of he was the real deal. He's a biker, bartender, bouncer from Massachusetts. And he thought I was scamming him somehow. And he didn't believe it was a real deal. I had him my business card and everything. He didn't really believe I was shooting a video for livestock show kids until he got the plane ticket in the mail. He ended up showing up. And so I was driving to the airport to pick him up. We had 50 kids at the show ring all night to shoot this video, and driving to the airport to pick him up, and I thought, man, I hope that guy shows up. Then I thought, man, I hope that guy can read. So we had a good time with Pig Dog, and he's been a friend ever since then. But we have a lot of fun with those videos and make them fun to watch, and maybe people pick up a point or two. So let's go back to that ag teacher that person on his master's thesis in Colorado that collected data from 200 FFA kids. On those questions, some of them the ones you just answered. Let me explain what he did. It was pretty cool. It was his 97 master's thesis at Colorado State, a guy named Dwight Russ. He works for the Department of Ag down there now. And he had 196 ag students that he went to, and 2 schools in Colorado, 2 in Wyoming, 2 in Nebraska, and 1 in Kansas. It was a post-test only control group experimental design, a lot like what we did tonight. So he would measure half of the class, show the video, and then measure the other half of the class, okay? So you kind of get a true control group and a treatment group. And that's what we did with y'all tonight. Half of you were a control group, half were a treatment group. He had 20 situational statements that he asked them to evaluate. I only asked you 10 tonight for the sake of time. So let's go through some of those questions. You'll recognize some of them. These are 7 that were common with his studies, all I'm going to show you. So the junior exhibitor uses black show polish to cover up the snip of white on the Angus steer. Before they saw the video, the kids, 51% said that was a bad thing. After they saw the video, that went up to 86% said it was a bad thing. So clearly the video had some influence on how they answered that question, would you say? So let's look at the 8 ag teachers. They responded to this question too. And the 8 ag teachers actually all answered in the control group. So we don't have any before and after data on them. So this is before the video. There were 2 ag teachers out of the 8 said no problem with that. Okay? Next question. This is the Lasix question. Dad has some overweight hogs. He gets some Lasix and gives it to those hogs. Before the video, 60% of those kids said that's a bad thing, or they don't agree with that practice. After the video, that went up to 82% of those FFA members said they don't agree with that practice. That's another good change. Ag teachers, 3 of the 8 said there's no problem using Lasix on an overweight hog. See a trend here? If it's good for humans, it's good for animals. Before the video, 47% said they disagree with that. After the video, 88% said they disagree with that. Again, it looks like that video had influence on how they responded. 4 out of 8 said there's no problem with that. 1 of them had a question about it. Only 3 of them said they don't agree with that practice. Drenching question. Dehydrated animal at the show. Before the video, 62% of them disagreed with that. After the video, 78% disagreed. 3 out of 8 ag teachers said that was okay. Use on horses only. It's the Banamine question. This drug has been used to reduce lameness. Before the video, 70% of those members said that they disagreed with the practice. After the video, 90% of them disagreed with the practice. Went down to 1.9%, thought it was an okay thing after they saw the video. 2 ag teachers said it's okay to do anything. Swine producer makes a deal to partner on the animal. Before the video, 42% of those kids disagreed with that action. After the video, 65% disagreed. 1 ag teacher said it's okay to partner up with that breeder. This is the birth date on the registered lambs. Before the video, 53% disagreed with that. After the video, about 78% disagreed. 1 ag teacher said it wouldn't matter. 2 of them were kind of in the middle. Results. There was a highly significant difference between the control and treatment groups. You can just see that with your eyes. There was a big difference statistically. There's also a highly significant difference between the answers of the boys and the girls. Guess who was the most ethical answers? The girls. Always, right? So there was a huge difference in how the boys and girls answered. Only 8% of the students had been exposed to any kind of ethics education program. And so the point is, it looks like this stuff works. And they'd had low exposure, but there was a high effect. Why aren't we doing more of this? Again, this was 20 years ago. I'm interested in the response of the 8 ag teachers. I don't know about anybody else in the room. As soon as I saw this data, I called up Dwight and I said, hey, is there any way you could link these kids' response with their ag teacher's response? I'll guarantee, and he couldn't. He did not collect the data in a way he could. I'll guarantee you, those kids that thought Lasix was okay to use, I bet you there's a high probability they were in the classroom of those ag teachers that said it was okay to use. Don't you bet? That would be an interesting study if anybody's looking for one to do. That would be an interesting study. And again, it looks like that the cognition about making good choices is happening with that thing. So we're done with that. I want to move on to something a little more less black and white that's hard to get a handle on sometime. Unless there's any questions about the line in the sand or how to figure all that out. I think you got a good tool in your hands that you can really help yourself and figure out what's right or wrong. So let's look real here. How much help from adults, professional fitters, ag teachers, county agents, 4-H leaders, whoever, how much help is appropriate? How do you figure that out? I put together this little scale, and it's a 5-point scale of adult help. 0 is absolutely no adult involvement. I don't think that's the purpose of these programs. Do you, John Demick? They need guidance and support from adults, whether it's parents, ag teachers, agents, 4-H leaders, stock show folks, whatever. There needs to be some kind of adult involvement. So I think 0 is not acceptable. Adult involvement at 1, only to offer advice and information. Number 2 on the scale, clipping and grooming by an adult for instruction purposes. 3 is adults and youth share the clipping and grooming task equally. So I really don't have a problem if a professional fitter clips half a steer, talks a kid through it, hands the clippers over to that kid and talks him through the other side. I really don't have a big problem with that if it's a way to teach, if that's why it's used. But guess what? That doesn't happen very often. So that's what number 3 is, when they're kind of equally working on this animal. And guess what? An 8-year-old or a 9-year-old might need more help than an 18-year-old. Would you all agree? So things change as we get more experience and age on these members. Number 4, adults doing the majority of the work. And number 5, adults doing all of the work. I've seen that. We've all probably seen it, where the family hires a professional fitter and they do 99% of the work and they hand off the halter when the steer goes in the ring. That happens on occasion. And it's not appropriate. And it's hard to do anything about those. You try to put in restriction of assistance rules and it's way more complicated than you can imagine. And people find all kinds of ways to get around those. What I'm proposing is this. Somewhere between offering advice and information and clipping equally. If we were all in that range on this scale, man, I'd be a happy camper. I think we all would. And so I think this helps get our head wrapped around this really fuzzy idea about how much adult help. Does that help? I think we can do something with that, and we can talk with people about it. It gives us a framework to talk about that topic. And one more slide on adult help. specifically professional fitters, I always say a professional fitter would be welcome if they follow the show rules and if they help everybody, not just the people that are paying them, and if they teach and coach and not do the work. And guess what? When I put those stipulations out to welcome fitters in my barn, most of them have to exclude themselves. We're not excluding them because a lot of folks can't live up to those. Some can, but I think generally speaking, a professional fitter has a hard time living up to those three things. But I would propose, if they can, that they would be more welcome in the barn. So, real quickly, I want you to look at the back of that card. We're going to switch right now and look at the back of that card. A lot of states are doing a lot of good work on quality assurance training of 4-H and FFA members, and they've been doing it for a lot of years. But a lot of states spend 99% of their time on these topics just on the quality assurance part. And the reason is because a lot of those people have had training in animal science and have had zero training in ethical education or ethics education, right? So it's more comfortable for us animal science guys to focus on quality assurance. And quality assurance is absolutely critical and essential, and we've got to keep doing that good work we do on that. But the point is, you have to put attention to both sides of that card. That's what I'm trying to get across. And the data we're collecting from this tonight, we're actually going to be submitting a paper to the Journal of Ag Education, and that's our point we're trying to make with this, is we're doing great work on quality assurance education. We don't need to forget the other side of the card, the ethics education side. And so we've tried to give you some tools to do the ethics work. I'm going to show you some fun stuff to kind of add to your quality assurance training maybe. So, with that, any questions before we dive into quality assurance? If not, you needed to reshuffle. You're going to reload that quality assurance video. I want to show you a video I did on quality assurance. We tried to put some fun stuff in there. Excuse the DVR, not have us skip a beat every now and then, but I think you're picking up most of it. So we're going to switch over and watch one more video. Something as simple as moving or loading or even showing a pig, there are certain places to tap the pig and certain places not to.
Now follow me here. As the chart shows, there are acceptable places to tap a pig while showing it. It is basically the same concept as places to avoid giving an injection. Stay away from the high-value cuts of meat, such as the loin and the hindquarters. You understand what I'm saying? The same holds true for loading your animal. Don't poke or prod your beef, sheep, or swine project in the loin or the hindquarters when moving or loading the animal. You follow me?
And as that well-known movie character would say, don't poke your pig in the buttocks. There you have the 5 links in the quality assurance chain that livestock producers are responsible for. And in addition, the other links of responsibility of everyone else involved in the production of wholesome food. And remember that old saying, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link.
And now a word about corn. How long has it been since you've had a big old juicy piece of corn on the cob? Have you ever thought about what it takes to get corn to your table? The corn farmer has to, number 1, provide the corn plant with the proper nutrients to grow to its full potential. Otherwise, you would have a scrawny little ear of corn with shriveled kernels. No, not that kind of kernel. This kind of kernel. Number 2 on the corn farmer's quality assurance list, he must have the proper equipment and facilities to grow, harvest, and transport the corn. It might take a while to harvest a field of corn by hand. Number 3 on the corn farmer's quality assurance list, read and follow the labels of all crop protection chemicals which are applied to the corn. You don't want to disregard the days to harvest after application restriction of a pesticide and make someone sick. Number 4 on the corn farmer's list of quality assurance, Proper care and handling of your corn after you've gone to the trouble of growing it is important. It might not be wise to haul your corn to town on a truckload of hogs.
Nice looking load of corn cobs, Bill.
Those are just 4 ways that farmers bring good, high-quality corn to your dinner table. This message has been brought to you by Goodwin Educational Video, where we specialize in corn. We now return to our regular program.
And remember that old saying, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. If we disregard our duties to any one of these links, the chain is broken, and we then have a displeased customer. There you have it. Now you know how to strengthen the chain of wholesome food production by the use of proper injection sites, proper facilities, proper nutrition, reading and following labels, and practicing proper handling and care of your animals.
Nice looking pen of steers, John. If they do as good as the last load I bought from you, I'll be happy.
No, we aim to please.
You already back for seconds?
Man, this is good stuff. You raised this pork chop, right?
Dang right, we aim to please.
Well, looks like you did a good job, Roger.
We aim to please.
I think our DVD player worked better that time, John. That's good. So, that quality assurance chain, it's the same thing that's on the back of your card. Those 5 links that we can't forget or we run into problems. So that's pretty self-explanatory, and a lot of people have had training on those things. And I want to take you to a fun kind of quality assurance training. Notoriously, quality assurance training can be boring as heck. So I've got a few activities I like to do around that, and I'm going to show you one of them. It's kind of a brand new one I've just put together. And I'm going to need 4 volunteers. So what's funny, when I ask for volunteers, kids usually raise their hand, and adults will not make eye contact with me. So to volunteer for this duty, you need to, if you like jelly beans, stand up. Kids, just do FFA 4-H members. If you like jelly beans, stand up. Only have 5 jelly bean eaters in the crowd? And so y'all like jelly beans. You eat jelly beans all the time? So what's your name?
Noah Humphrey.
Noah, come on down. You're one of our contestants. We need a good blue jacket down here. What's your name? Cameron? Come on down. I need a girl. You like jelly beans? Oh, somebody, let's get some over here. Give me the pink jelly bean eater. Come on down. Say again. I think we got 4. We'll go with that. Appreciate the volunteering, but I can only handle 4. This is a little game that I call Jelly Belly Roulette. Sounds dangerous, doesn't it? I'll explain. We've got Noah, Cameron, and I need y'all to get in that order, too. You're in order? Yep, you're correct. How do you say that?
McKinley.
McKinley. Take number 3 spot. And Grace. Let's give these 4 kids a hand for helping me out. So here's how Jelly Belly Roulette works. We're going to test out 10 new flavors of jelly beans. And I've got these 10 flavors of jelly beans right here that I'll help disperse. And what's going to happen, we're going to go one at a time. We're going to go 4 rounds. We got a spinner right there that's going to say which one he gets. And these jelly beans, they're kind of mixed together. Every color of jelly bean in this stack of jelly beans has 2 flavors. A good flavor and a not so good flavor. Nobody's allergic to any jelly beans, are they? There's no, these are regular jelly beans. Okay, you're not?
Not that I know of.
Oh, not you know of. We've got a puke bucket, don't worry. So, what's going to happen, we're going to draw for which one you get, and the only way you can tell if it's a good jelly bean or a bad jelly bean is until you taste it. And- okay?
Sorry.
So, we're going to draw for a jelly bean. You're going to tell me if it's a good one or a bad one. Tell me which flavor it is, then we'll go to the next contestant. And we've got John going to keep score here. If it's a good jelly bean, he's going to put a check mark. If it's a bad jelly bean, he's going to put a big X. We're going to keep some statistics. So, you ready to start us off, Noah?
Sure.
Give us a spin, Todd. You have drawn buttered popcorn or rotten egg. So, hold out your hand. So nobody's pawed through these. I kept them clean on purpose. I'll dispense one to Noah.
Is there a trash?
There's a trash barrel right behind you.
Just in case.
And everybody's got a bottle of water. Give it a try. So is it popcorn or something worse?
Well,
What is it?
I don't really know.
Does it taste good or bad?
Uh,
Is it popcorn or rotten eggs? Sometimes it takes a second or two to drive home. Which one is it?
I don't know.
Man.
Rotten egg.
Give him an X. Next contestant. Let's see what you get, Cameron. Oh, peach or vomit? This is the best. No, let me find it. Here we go. Let me see your hand. Okay, give that a try. It's going to be great. Trust me. Takes about 5 or 10 seconds to really... Is it peach? No, it's not peach. It's not peach. Woo! That's bad, isn't it? Woo! This is fun, isn't it? So, here we go. Next contestant. Coconut or spoiled milk?
I don't like either of those.
So, McKinley, here you go. There you go. Give that a try. Which is it, coconut? It's not coconut. I swear there's some good flavors in here. It's a big X. Spin man. Strawberry smoothie, strawberry banana smoothie, or dead fish?
I like
try
either.
that
I like
one.
either. It doesn't really matter. I like fish
Which one
anyway.
is that? Strawberry banana smoothie or dead fish for Grace? You like smoothies? Is that a smoothie? Okay. You gonna keep going with it? You must like dead fish. Let's go back to the start. We're not doing too we're not doing too good today.
I don't like either of
Chocolate pudding or dog food?
them. I don't like either of them.
You don't like chocolate pudding?
No.
Oh, I believe I'd be glad to get chocolate pudding. Give it a whirl. Is it chocolate pudding?
Well, ask canned dog food.
That's canned dog food. I swear. Give him a big X. Next spin.
What'd you do to this
Man,
jelly bean?
these kids have some pretty bad breath right now. What is it? Chocolate pudding, canned dog food again comes up. You like chocolate pudding?
Yeah.
Okay, let's hope for the best. Is it chocolate pudding? I swear. Next spin.
The jelly beans.
I didn't do anything. There's good ones in there. Coconut or spoiled milk? Is that what you had last time? Well, maybe you get coconut this time. There you go.
Yeah, maybe that's how it works. Maybe
Coconut?
the second of one kind.
Hey, we got a coconut. Give that lady a check. Next spin. Berry blue or toothpaste? That's not too bad. we're going to Grace. There you go. Berry blue or toothpaste? Berry blue! Let's give that girl a hand for getting a good draw. Strawberry banana smoothie or dead fish?
Over here.
Is that one?
Oh, no,
that's the
peach
peach or vomit.
Over here.
Man, you stink. There you go. Strawberry banana smoothie or dead fish? Which is it? Smoothie? Smoothie! Give that boy a check. I told you I wasn't lying. Cameron, Tutti Frutti or stinky socks? Give it a whirl. Tutti Frutti. Tutti Frutti?
Yeah.
Oh, you think it's Tutti Frutti? You think? So we're going to give you a check or an X? Give him a check. Woo-hoo! Next spin. Caramel corn or moldy cheese?
I like you.
There you go. Caramel corn? Oh, give her a check.
Again.
Dead fish or smoothie? Did you do this one already?
Yeah. I bet she's gonna get the smoothie this time.
Smoothie, smoothie. Oh, apparently not. Last round. Chocolate pudding
Oh, again.
or dog food. You're stuck on that, aren't you? Take one for the team, man.
Oh, okay. Again, Cameron.
Oh, gosh. Give that boy an X. Last round we're on. Peach or vomit. You had that before, didn't you? Well, let's hope for peach, because that vomit is some nasty. It's just bad. Oh, give him an X. McKinley. Next to last round, Tutti Frutti or stinky socks? There you go. And the verdict is Tutti Frutti. Give her a check. Last spin of the game. Ooh.
Peach or vomit?
Peach or vomit? There you go. Hope for peach. Woo! So, if y'all need to wash out, stay right there for a second. So what's the statistics say, Mr. Demick? Woo! Noah had 3 bad ones and 1 good one. Cameron had 3 bad ones, 1 good one. McKinley, she's a little lucky. She had 3 good ones and 1 bad one. And then half and half. So what am I trying to, what does this exercise have to do with quality assurance in show animals? Anybody want to give me a guess? The point is, I tried to create a negative eating experience here. Did I succeed? Yeah. Okay. We tried to create a negative eating experience here for these kids because we don't want to create a negative eating experience for whoever buys your animal from the fair, right? Does that make sense? Because if we provide half of the animals that come out of this fair cause a negative eating experience, that is a bad, bad thing. We'll have it'd be bad for the future of livestock shows. Even if we only have 25% of the people buying an animal from this fair have a negative eating experience, that's 25% too much, right? We cannot tolerate any negative eating experiences from these show animals. That's the point I'm trying to make. Final point is to remind everybody that sells an animal through this sale, we're creating food for people to consume. And you always have to think about that, right? Let's give these kids a hand for playing along. Thank you. So that's how you do Jelly Belly Roulette. I've got another activity called PR Cupcakes, and I've got the recipe for that. I'll send it to you, John, in case y'all want to use it around here. But what you do, you create there's a cupcake recipe, and you cook this cupcake recipe 6 different ways. One way is you leave a batch of those cupcakes in the oven 30 minutes too long. What's going to happen to that cupcake if you leave it in the oven 30 minutes too long? It's what?
It'll be dry.
Be dry as you can imagine. Will not be fun to eat. And that would represent a lamb that had been held for 6 months and hadn't gained a pound. He's pretty stale, I bet. What do you want to bet? So every one of those different kinds of cupcakes represents a different issue we need to be fearful for quality assurance purposes. We have one cupcake, we hollow the middle of it out and pack the middle of it full of mustard. And that represents an injection site lesion. And again, what we try to do with that activity is create a negative eating experience for some kids at their 4-H club meeting or somewhere and drive home the point that they're producing food and we don't need to be creating negative eating experiences. So there's all kinds of fun activities like that that you can add to your quality assurance training. Where'd my flipper go? There it is. So I hope that helps explain some of these quality assurance links in the chain. Again, just a quick review: proper injection sites, proper facilities, proper nutrition, reading and following labels, proper handling and care. It's on the back side of that card. So, before we get to the very end, I've got another little exercise I like to do with Fair Board members, with ag teachers and county agents, 4-H leaders. It's called Livestock Show Landmines. A lot of times, people that run livestock shows are very well intentioned, but when they have people violate, accidentally or on purpose, their rules, a lot of times they overreact. And if a fair board overreacts too bad in the wrong situation, they can get sued into oblivion. It's happened a few times. So whenever some issue arises at a livestock show, and I get the call, either it's from the state I'm in as the 4-H leader or whatever, I really encourage people not to make knee-jerk reaction decisions. Think things through as much as they can. Get all the information that you can, and you act on solid, concrete information, not hearsay. All those things you have to do. The problem is sometimes we don't have the luxury of time to have to make a decision, right? And so I always tell Fair Board folks or county agents or ag teachers, if you can avoid it, never ever make an on-the-spot decision about anything that happens like that at a stock show. If at all possible, you need at least think about it overnight, get more information overnight. It may be something you have to have several days or weeks to get information gathered up before you make a decision. That's the worst thing that a person can do that's running a fair, working with a fair, is make a quick, snap judgment without all the information. And they usually regret it later. So here's a couple of them I'll just read to you, and I'll throw it out and see what y'all would recommend we do in this situation. So say you're the county agent in a county, and 2 days before the market beef show, a 4-H member, Betty, confides that she thinks her friend Sally has a steer that's been pumped up with air over the rib. Betty thinks it's because she often helps Sally wash her steer and noticed a big difference in that steer in the last few days. Betty's a junior in high school and has been in the livestock judging team several years, so she knows what she's doing. When she's handled a lot of steers, a lot of cattle, she knows what she's feeling is shouldn't be there. So what things would you do? What options would apply in this situation? You could either take the action and have the steer disqualified before the steer show. Why wouldn't you do that? Need more information, can't take one person's word. What else? There's something else I'm looking for. You really need to let somebody violate the rule before you drop the hammer on them. If you drop the hammer on somebody for planning to violate a rule or thinking about violating a rule, a judge will give you a court order and let that kid show a lot of times. So you always have to let people break the rule before you take action. I know that sounds a little silly, but you got to. Wait till the end of the steer show to do anything. Talk to Sally and her family about the accusation before the steer show. Work with the sale committee to work up a plan to be implemented immediately after the show and before the sale. Tell the steer judge to check the steer for being aired up and to place the steer low or excuse it from the ring. Call the state 4-H director or do nothing. In this case, this ag agent or 4-H agent called me, and we worked our way through this issue. He called me about every 2 hours for 3 days in a row. And we developed a plan, involved our state vet's office. We involved veterinarians that went to that animal as soon as the show was over and gave us their opinion about whether that animal had been tampered with or not. We had more than one vet do that for us, several. We put a guard on that steer as soon as the show was over until the animal died so that nobody can claim he was tampered with between the show and the slaughterhouse. We had the state vet there when that hide came off, taking samples, looking at needle tracks down that back. We had everything lined up that you could think about. And the sale committee, after all that information, disqualified the animal. And actually, before the hide came off, they went ahead and disqualified the animal from the sale. I actually made her not a member in good standing for a year. She had a steer ready to go to Denver in a few months. That steer didn't go to Denver. I don't know where he ended up, but he didn't go to Denver with that kid showing him. And so we were able to take some action, but we really had our ducks lined up and had solid, concrete information to base our actions. You really have to think it through. And it helps to call somebody for some advice that's been down the road before and get all the information you can before you make those decisions. So that's kind of how we handle that one. Here's an interesting one about drug residues. This year at your county show, 6 different animals and 4 different species exhibited by 6 different families all came down with drug residues of ketamine. Ketamine is a drug that vets put animals and dogs to sleep with or use it for anesthesia, right? Am I thinking right? And so it was a really low level, like 1 to 3 nanograms per milliliter was the residue showing up in these 6 animals. First thing, I've been around this thing for a lot of years, I never heard of ketamine residues in a show animal. Never, ever. And so I found out what the drug was used for, and the first question we asked the show vet that was collecting samples for drug testing, we asked him, did you use the sterile test tubes and equipment that came in the drug testing kit? He had to admit to us, no, he didn't. He said, I just ran through the clinic and grabbed up some test tubes. And guess what? You can sterilize those glass test tubes, right? But you can't sterilize those rubber stoppers, right? He grabbed a whole bunch of used rubber stoppers and away he went. And the sale committee was going to disqualify all 6 animals from all 6 families, and they were going to be hard line and just take drastic action. I said, no, you better rethink what you're doing, because there's a very sensible explanation about how this happened. And the vet admitted that it was probably a residue from those used test tubes what caused that very low level of ketamine to show up in all those different animals from different species and different families. So the point I want to make is every one of these issues that happens at a livestock show are unique. I don't think there's ever been one of them hardly identical. And so you have to look at each situation. Again, get all the information you can. Try to make the best decision you can. And in Colorado, 3 things could happen to a kid if they violated a show rule or had a residue or whatever. The 3 things were the sale committee could disqualify the animal and keep the check, right? And that happens sometimes. There's an animal tampering law in Colorado that if you've tampered an animal, there's pretty hefty fines and some things you got to do. It's never been a case tried with that animal tampering law because they can tell the animal's been tampered, but nearly all the time they can't tell whose hand was on that syringe. And so it's very difficult to prosecute anybody with that state law, so it's never happened. Then the third thing that can happen is the state 4-H director can make a kid not a member in good standing for up to a year. That doesn't mean I kick them out of 4-H. They can still go to the club meeting. They can still do some local activities, but I might limit their state activities. I might limit their livestock showing activities. And we do it for when they violate the rules at a livestock show. I've done that to a kid for cussing out a fair board when his whole family was escorted off the fairgrounds because they so misbehaved one year. And the young man kept his cool and was not really involved with the fray. The rest of his family was, and his sister. And I probably would have never taken any action on this kid, 16-year-old boy. But as the sheriff was escorting that family off the fairgrounds, the fair board was all standing lined up at the gate. This young man stuck his head out the window and yelled out, "See you next year." And I'm not going to tell you the rest of the words that he told those guys. And so I took him out, not as a member in good standing, just for bad conduct. And that can happen too. And I don't know about this state, how it works in this state, but a lot of states, if you violate the code of conduct, you can be in for some serious consequences. So it doesn't have to be drug residue or something like that. So, those livestock landmines, I really caution people, before you try to do the right thing at a county show, make sure you've looked into it. And I always tell people, we should never, ever, ever be looking for stuff. I've never, ever, ever went looking for bad things. They just kind of slap you upside the head on occasion. And I would say when one of these issues slaps you upside the head, then it becomes your business. Just like the girl that knew that steer had been aired up. She felt a duty to let her county agent know that he needs to check this steer out. Even though it was her friend's steer, she felt like she had a duty to say something. And that's where we need to be. Don't worry about other people's business, but when it becomes your business, you got to do something about it. So, last thing I want to say, we're going to go to one more slide. Why is all this important? The future of livestock shows depends on these things. Protecting the well-being of our animals. It depends on providing a window in the world of ag. Like one of the videos said, the day that commercial agriculture won't have anything to do with us, that's the beginning of the end for the Youth Livestock Show. I had an ag teacher from Oklahoma tell me once that he had the solution to all these quality assurance issues in junior livestock shows. Guess what his solution was, John Demick? He was serious as could be when he told me he could solve it all if we just tanked all these show animals, rendered all these show animals, then we wouldn't have to worry about consumer acceptance of this product. That's an ag teacher that's teaching young people. That caused me grave concern when he told me that. He wasn't kidding. He was serious as he could be. That was his solution. And I think that's scary. And I won't tell you what state that ag teacher was from. Providing high quality food. Again, that's so important. I think those 4 kids learned the importance of high quality food tonight, right? Positive youth development. That's absolutely the anchor we've got to be on. That's why we do this program. Little League Baseball. Most kids that go through Little League Baseball will never be a Major League Baseball player, right? Hopefully they were in Little League Baseball for positive youth development. That's what we need to be focused on with 4-H and FFA. The animal is only a vehicle to get us to positive youth development. The Shooting Sports Project, that firearm is only a vehicle to get us to positive youth development. That's what we need to be focused on. And last but not least, this whole thing depends on you. And we've all got personal responsibility. Everybody in this room has personal responsibility about these topics. And if we all are serious about it and all believe we have something to do about this, we'll continue to make progress. Because I think we've made a lot of progress in the last 20 years. I really do. And we've got some more progress to make probably. And again, if the cell committee can think of those things to help remind you of these points, like the big sign of the ethical compass in the show ring, anything like that, so we're always thinking about it, always teaching about it, I think is what we need to do. So with that, you can stick a fork in me because I'm done. I appreciate the invitation to get down here and share some of this stuff. I would appreciate that evaluation, and I'm on the tenure track again. Second time I've gone through promotion and tenure, so I got to collect some of this data so I can hang around Hawaii for a while. And so, appreciate the listening. Hope there was something that we did that you can take home. Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. You bet. Thank you.
Oh, go ahead.
What's your view on social media?
Give me that mic. Remember I talked about code of conduct? That's one that's popping up a lot in a lot of states, is kids that violate the code of conduct in their state with what they post on social media.
Kids and parents.
I would agree with that. Kids and parents, she says. And we've taken some action on kids that post inappropriate things on Facebook or whatnot.
What kind of action?
Again, the biggest action I could take in Colorado, I don't know what it is here in this state, I could make any 4-H member in the state not a member in good standing for up to a year. I didn't kick them out of 4-H. I just limit their activity.
What can you do to the parents?
What can you do to the parents? A lot of states, parents and leaders sign the code of conduct for sure. And I don't know about FFA. I guess they. How do y'all do that in FFA, John? Do parents sign a code of conduct or not? Just the kids. So, about that. Trying to think. I was going somewhere with that.
Well, sometimes it's one parent, not the other.
Oh, I know what it is. In 4-H world, the only parents that we really can have good control on are 4-H volunteers, if they happen to be parents too. Because those volunteers do sign a code of conduct, and if they're creating any kind of less than ideal environment, learning environment, we could take some action. Now, parents that aren't volunteers, if their involvement adversely affects the learning environment of what's going on in 4-H, we might come to the point where we have to talk with law enforcement. If they're so disruptive at an event, say, or something, it's tough. Some of those things we can't, parents have the right to be at anything that their kids are at usually, right? So it's a tough one when parents are misbehaving. I guess one of my pet peeves when I was in Colorado was the 4-H volunteer that's an adult bully. And I had a very low tolerance for that. And about 2 volunteers a year that might be 40-year volunteers, it seemed like I would let go a year. And those are painful ones because a lot of them were my friends. But when you hear about inappropriate bullying from adult to adult, we need to do whatever is in our power to try to stop that. And so that's one thing I always did, was try to stop. And guess what? When the adult bully is no longer in our 4-H program, it's a lot more pleasant for other people in that county to be involved, right? And usually when we let an adult bully go, we hear, once they're gone, then we hear about all kinds of stuff because everybody's so intimidated that they're afraid to speak up. So that's one thing I didn't tolerate, was a 4-H volunteer that wasn't doing things properly like that. But the parent thing can be a challenge. Any other questions? If no other questions, I'll turn it back over to you guys. Thank you all.
All right, thank you, and we certainly want to thank each and every one of you for being here. I hope you found it interesting, worthwhile. I hope it'll benefit